Welcome to the Mind of My Creative Business podcast, and I am your host, Ron Ironically Jr.
And I'm your host, ShySpeaks, and this is the #1 podcast for what?
For creatives to learn strategy, structure, and self-development.
Yeah, all at the same time, all in one place. And I'm excited because, I got my... Listen, we got a special guest with us.
Yes.
We always have special guests, but this one is particularly special because I know him personally. He's my friend, my bro in this music thing and this freaking creative entrepreneur stuff, period.
Right.
Introducing none other than Jay Rhodes.
Yes, give it up for Jay Rhodes. Yes.
What's up? Thank y'all for having me, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Listen, Jay, I met doing things in music, and then I was like, man, I think I want to work with him. I think he was like, I think I want to work with her. So it was a mutual thing. Okay. We worked together. There's a song that's available out called King, and he actually produced it.
So I think it was me and did Mav co-produce it too?
Yeah, Mav co-produced it as well.
Yeah,
so you are absolutely right. So we took them into a room and they just made it right. I said, this is how I want the song to sound. He was like, okay. But he hasn't just worked with me and other independent artists. He's worked with a number of artists. He has a list of accolades. In fact, you just recently got a Grammy.
Yeah, I was blessed to produce on the 3-time Grammy Award-winning Michael project, Killer Mike. We actually went to the Grammys, got to see him win them in real time. That was cool. Got suited and booted. It was a very cool experience. So that was a blessing, and it's cool the way God brought it, because a lot of times you fight so hard for certain things. Thought that we would have got that accolade in 2014 with Lecrae. Got a lot of awards, but didn't. Lecrae got in the Grammy for a song, but we didn't get it for the album. Long story with that. But it's cool how God circled it back 9 years later, and I got it unexpectedly. So that was a blessing. Did you guys get a dove? Yeah, we got a dove. I think he won like a Billboard Music Award, Stellar. It was a lot of things that happened, and getting that Dove Award was real cool too. It was a record breaking. At that point, they considered it a gospel album. Gospel rap album. It was the first one to be #1 on Billboard, if I'm quoting it correctly. Hopefully it should. It's still gold. Hopefully that goes platinum sometime soon. And the cool thing about that album was that it went gold in the time. It was like one of the last albums to me that went gold when it was actual physical sales. Right. Like people went out and physically copped that album. Now they do it a certain way where it's like streams equal this ratio. It's something weird. I don't even know how it's calculated. But shout out to Lecrae and his team at Reach, because they did record breaking things. They hit the pavement and people actually was copping those albums. So I think it was my first plaque as well. So
first plaque. Okay, so listen, I know, right? Okay, that's just one. But and we're gonna talk about production and music production and all of that, but you are not just a producer, you own Vintage Rhodes Production.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And what we try to do here, what we do here at the Mind of My Creative Business podcast is we take you behind the brands of 6, 7, and even 8-figure entrepreneurs. And so when you layer all of that together, the producer, the Vintage Rhodes, well, what makes Vintage Rhodes so special is it's not just music. He also specializes in film production. So how do you, as a producer, venture into film?
Man, all right, let me try to give the short, long version. All right, so when I was in corporate America a while back, DFW Airport, I think it was 2007, I got hired to be in the marketing department. And it was for pretty much like a film editing position. The funny thing is I never had edited film before. But the guy knew I did music, and he said, hey, if you can do music timelines, you can do film timelines. And so I was up there pretty much learning on the job. I got it. Ended up leaving that job to pursue music, and I was just doing music. But I still had that skill of film. I think editing is just like beat making almost. It's just like a different version of it. So I felt I was real good at editing a timeline. And then I hooked up with my my homeboy from college, Corey Williams, in like 2015, 2016, and he wanted to shoot a documentary. But I was like, man, you know what? let's shoot a scripted series. And so Corey would do the filming and the editing, but then I would start doing the editing to speed up the process. And so, man, we just hit the ground running. And within 8 months of shooting These Beats Ain't Free, the series, we were in the Viacom offices talking to BET about potentially, you know, it being picked up. It didn't get picked up, but we celebrated that win. We was like, man, we already in the BET offices. And from there, I realized that film was my new passion. Like, I tell people all the time, and I think people will hear me say this ad nauseum, but it's really the truth. Like, film is the root of my career tree. And not film, but music. And so from music, a lot of branches have grown, and film is one of the biggest ones because I feel it's a talent dump. Like, you can put your creative timing in it, your writing, your editing, I direct it, you know, you can write. It's so many things that you could put in the film. And it's more like a creative marathon. But when you get to the end of it, it really is like, it's the closest me as a man would get to, you know what I'm saying, labor pains, because it's a lot of stuff that goes into there, a lot of people that have to push it, et cetera. So we did It's a Wonderful Plight. That was our first. Me and Corey did a lot of other things before that were very monumental, but It's a Wonderful Plight was our first feature. It was in USA Today as one of the top films to see of the summer of 2021. As our first film, we went on a big tour that it was even Sway in the Morning talking about this film. And it's real creative. And I just think that it's the best way, instead of like screaming with people in chats and in comments and just all of this, just so easy to just throw things. I think film is a way for me to really communicate how I feel the right way and just get my messaging and stuff out. So that's how we got into it. And I love it. Like, it's my most favorite thing to do now.
Now, I have a question. So, you know, as I was listening to you, you said, okay, you was working in corporate America and you got hired in for marketing at Dallas Fort Wayne, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you got hired in that position, you knew you were going in to do film. Like, because I heard a piece that it was, because I'm real big on mentorship.
For sure.
Right. So somebody else was like, yo, if you do this, if you have this skill set, you can also do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you take to that initially? Was it kind of, did you give pushback? Like, nah, I don't really know about that. Or did you trust that person enough to where you was like, okay, let me try this because they saying that I can do this?
I believed instantly. Okay. And I was just so happy. It was almost like, I don't even know if y'all know that meme of that dude looking at all of these wires, and I don't know, but anyway, I'll pull it. But he's looking at it like this because he's like, when you lie on your application, right? I didn't care. Like, at that point, like I had left a job because I was like, I'm gonna do music full time. But then I had a daughter due, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this music, but I need some money now. So I took to it, and it was a challenge, but it was mainly like, as somebody at that point that didn't have my college degree. In 2006, where they said that the salary was $40,000. I'm like, that was a lot to me back then. And I'm like, shoot, for nobody. I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm gonna learn it. And so it was more like, I believed instantly because I always, anything that I want to do or I need to do, I figure it out.
And you learned a skill set on somebody else's dime.
On somebody else's dime. I also, not only did I learn a skill set on their dime, shout out to DFW Airport, but they had, hey, this was back when they had printed CDs. Right. Like, they had the CD machine. I would stay after and print up my music CDs. Right. You know what I'm saying? I put them in the cases. I would be working on, Final Cut Pro. And then I learned marketing, like even how I brand. I brand very, even though it's creative, it's a very corporate type of thing with consistency. Certain things have to look like this and do like this. And I got that branding aspect from working in the marketing department. Okay. Of course, it's not as stringent. Is that the word? But it's not as strict. Let's just say strict. Stringent. There we go. It's not as stringent and it's not as strict, but at the same time, it's a lot of things that I learned from that as well. So yeah, DFW propelled me to do what I wanted to do. And another thing, like, I tell this story, and we're going to get to that, but in my first book, I tell this story, but... Come on, first book. Because the second one is coming. The second one is on the way. But I used to go to DFW Airport, and it was cool, but I knew that music and arts and working for myself was what I wanted to do. So I would go, and I didn't put pictures up of my kids and nothing. I didn't want to make it too much like home. People are like, hey, well, you know, I'm like, hey, I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's cool in his office, but I'm not comfortable here. And I used to look out, and I used to see planes, you know, flying by my window in DFW Airport. And I was like, God, one day I'm gonna be on one of those planes. I'm gonna be on one of those planes. And so then I left the job. You know, just it was time to leave. A lot of friction. But then I remember coming back to DFW Airport to go to LA and realizing like one of those planes that I saw, you know, and I tell that story a lot too, but I think it's profound every time, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so first of all, you said you just kind of, this is your life and you're so used to it, so you're just rolling right through it.
Yeah.
But when we talked about venturing into film, you said, well, we did this first series, right? So it's multiple series, y'all see what's going on. So you did, you said These Beats Ain't Free, the series. Right now, These Beats Ain't Free is a book.
Yeah, it started as a book.
Started as a book, and then it turned into a series, and then you and your buddy, y'all filmed this. So what was that series? Tell us about it.
Okay, it was, it started as a book, just like 100-page kind of thing to help people make their passion their paycheck, and, you know, in a short read, and people like all over the world about that. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing. But from that branding, it came to a clothing line. And then I promise you, before Atlanta's one of my favorite shows, but even before Atlanta hit, and I'm pretty sure Childish Gambino had the idea a long time before that too. But before anybody even knew of Atlanta, These Beats Ain't Free was kind of like in that vein. You know what I mean? We did it on our budget. We was running gun and learning things, but we still said, nah, we're going to do this scripted series. And it was pretty much about the life of a producer trying to get paid, trying to navigate. And we wrote, man, I used to write an episode almost a week. And then I used to try to send it to the actors, and they would not really remember. So at that point, a lot of times we would kind of have like idea, but it was like scripted in the sense of what we were trying to convey, but we would just be going off the cuffs, and that made it cool too. So it was cool. We learned a lot on that show, and it propelled us to other things. I think I'm gonna revisit that show at some point, because I think it really got some legs.
No, sounds like a dope idea. Like I would watch it.
Yeah.
So,
You know, says the producer.
says the producer, right.
I think another thing that it produced was the House of Beats.
House of Beats, man.
So tell them, what is House of Beats?
House of Beats is the first. You say, look at the camera where you got to miss. It's the first, and at this point, the only reality TV show for music producers. Now, House of Beats came because it just was a lot of bad reality shows to me, all negative. Yeah. Just, you know, BS, women fighting, and just, you know, and so if that's the entertainment, I wanted to do something more along the lines of The Voice, more positive and being entertaining in that way. So it was super cool. We shot season 1 on a whim, and people loved it. We partnered with Machine Masters for the first series, season. And now season 2 will be coming. We shot season 2 like in 2021, and it hasn't come out yet because I just got caught up in a lot of stuff, personal things and a lot of business things, but finished officially with the business on King of Dallas. Okay. So now that that's done, now I can really double back and get season 2 out, because once season 2 was difficult for various reasons, but once I get that out to the people, then House of Beats will, now that we know the formula, because we tried out those new cameras and it's just a lot of stuff. But anyway, getting to the point, season 2 will be dropping this year, and then we'll keep those other seasons rolling too. So.
Now I have a question in regards to both of your projects, right? These Beats Ain't Free and then House of Beats. How did you go about funding those projects? Were there sponsors? Did you come out of pocket? Was it no budget? Was it low budget? Like, kind of talk about that a little bit.
House of Beats was, let me see, low budget. Okay. We had, very low budget. Okay. I think it's cool when most of the time you're paying for the skill set. And me and Corey, my team, we had skill, like, you know, from being the host to editing it to, you know, having the talent or whatever. So with House of Beats and These Beats Ain't Free, the skill set was there, and we would, you know, find locations and do stuff. So those were pretty like low budget, self-funded, you know, in a sense, for the most part. You mentioned partnering with Machine. That's a particular. Yeah, Machine Masters is a a Native Instruments, not instrument, but it's a tool. Yeah. But it's Machine Masters. They're a channel on YouTube. I partnered with the guy AG, you know, cool guy, and we partnered on season 1. He's doing this thing, you know, still now. But I think we went a different direction with the show, and he's still doing his thing. So now, like season 2, We're probably looking for more like potentially network. May put it on YouTube, but I definitely season 3 and beyond will be putting it on network TV. You know, one of the streaming. So it's just like figuring that stuff out.
Okay. So that was a good question, because the thing is, I'm doing these creative things, but how am I making a living off of it, right? So how am I monetizing it? How am I scaling it from just making a living to making 6 figures and 7 figures? And how does all of that come about?
For sure.
And the thing I love about your story in particular is because while you're venturing into film and starting doing these series, you're still like an actual music producer and getting some pretty notable placements that are helping out with royalties and so forth and so on. So now I want to ask you this, now knowing what you know about putting out series and all that kind of stuff, how would you fund a film? What would be the best way to get a film funded or a series funded on what you know now?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I will say the way that you can control is to start a crowdfunding campaign for your movie, because people believe, and I had a lot of brand loyalty because I always delivered on stuff. Like I always had my projects, whatever it was, coming to actualization. So people were like, hey, if you're doing this, I'm going to support it. You know, we show them a trailer, like, hey, this is what we create and we may need, you know, this to help. But for It's a Wonderful Plight, my good friend, April Patterson, she was also an actor in the movie, but she helped. She believed in the film, and she, you know what I'm saying, put a lot towards it. So a lot of the funding initially, the $8,500 that we raised on Seed and Spark, which is a crowdfunding campaign, it's a crowdfunding platform, was for like post-production and just like, we actually used a lot of that money to buy new cameras for the next film. And so we raised also through Seed and Spark about $30,000 for King of Dallas, which is pretty good for an indie film, because we worked wonders with a little bit. I think It's a Wonderful Plight, as good as that film did, it's on, you know, Amazon Prime now. We did that film with no more than 5,000. And so King of Dallas, 30,000 of raising funds, and then I think another extra about 20,000 in donations from producers. Right. And like the whole point of King of Dallas, we said we were going to make $1 million film on an independent budget, and I think we really did that. So.
Right. So, okay, so funding is one thing, and then revenue. So a little bit different here. So just to clarify,
for sure,
you would raise the money for the funds that have the budget through crowdfunding, and it sounds like you were saying some investors, personal investors.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's that, and then you make the film, and then at some point you put it out, and then that's where we hope that let's say we took 100,000 who made a film, or like you said 50,000, and then how do we then get the revenue from it?
Okay, with film it's 3 ways. Like you got transactional, they call it TVOD. And then you got
you said
transactional TVOD, transactional video on demand. I think, and if I'm wrong, I'm close in the ballpark. But if I'm saying the acronym wrong, then I think people can research it. But TVOD, which is stuff like let's say Amazon, but people have to pay a fee for it. That's kind of like that, and that's cool too to kind of especially start off, because I think a lot of people that would want to acquire your film, like maybe even if it gets officially on Amazon on demand or like Netflix or something, to me, and from what I've heard, they look at that more like it's in the theater, because everybody can see it. It's almost like that people have to pay to see it. So that's different. You still can, we still can pay you to have that film on a platform. So you got TVOD, and it's pretty much like you put it up on a platform like Amazon. Amazon takes their fee, but if 1 million people buy it, you get, half of that money. That's just straight up how it is. So that's, TVOD, that's straight up like, hey, we doing this, here's the film. And so that's the first way. I'm gonna go third, then I'm gonna come back to the most elusive way. What I'm saying, that what you really want, and what I have yet to get yet, but we're gonna get that through continuing to make films. The third way is AVOD. I think that's advertising based. So that's like your Tubies and stuff like that. And people can say whatever they want about Tubi. I do get, some of the stigma. But if you're doing it right, just the fact that two people are consuming stuff and they'll go watch it, and it's more like you see ads come up. So you get paid every time your ads come up. So that's, So you got transactional, Then for the third one, you got advertise based. That's all these other platforms to where when your ads play, you get your money that way. And then the second is subscription based, like when somebody pays you a flat out fee to have it subscribed to. So we had that on It's a Wonderful Plight. It was a smaller platform. I think they paid like about $20,000 to acquire it for a year. For an independent film that you only put probably $5,000 into, you already getting $20,000 as getting your money back and more there. So even though it wasn't the biggest deal, it still was a blessing to do that. So basically the two is getting something like, let's say, just in one of the best case scenarios, HBO Max pays you $4 million to acquire King of Dallas. So now you got your $4 million, and then you have that banked. And then you still maybe have your transactional for the people who probably paid for it before, or however that works. But, but the thing about it, the way you probably would do that is you wouldn't put it on an ad-based thing until later, because why would somebody go to Tubi and HBO Max to see your film? So it's more like the ad-based platforms that's why they come like about 2 years after, and then you still can make money on advertising.
Are these gems or no?
No, definitely. And he said something that's key, where he mentioned the word brand loyalty, right? So there was things that you did prior to you crowdfunding to where you built the brand, right? And you had people that were used to your brand.
Yes.
That was expecting things. And now that you're saying, okay, I'm working on a project, you gave them an opportunity to partner with you in a sense, to be able to help fund it. So I think that's key, because we really don't hear a lot about that. Like, people, they'll do these crowdfund things, but they don't got no audience. They don't have a fan base. They don't have anybody that, you know what I'm saying? So
right. They haven't built up equity within
exactly.
You haven't built that trust. So in business, outside of the creative entrepreneur business, people, they always tell them entrepreneurs that people buy from who they know, like, and trust in some kind of way, because creatives think they're going to buy from people who are highly creative. They still need to know you.
Yeah.
They still need to like you, and they need to trust you.
Amen.
And so what you were talking about was, because of what I had put out, that people knew who I was. They liked the kind of stuff that I put out, because it's usually, even if it's a low budget, I have high skill. So it looks quality. And then lastly, it is that they trust it. They trust that I'm going to deliver. I'm not going to say, hey, we're going to put this out, and then it doesn't come out. Even if it takes me a while to put something out, they know I'm working on something. The point is, it's coming out.
Yeah, it's going to drop. It's going to drop.
So that was a good one.
And I don't do pre-orders to this day, because there's been some people, did some pre-order stuff. That project ain't seen a lot of day. They didn't got my money. So the fact that you said they were able to trust me, and that's how we were able to raise this fund.
Yeah.
And you just didn't do it once, but you did it twice.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that speaks volumes to being able to do that.
And I think it's just the person you are too. Like, not that I'm flawless by any standard, but you have integrity in your art, have integrity in who you are. And I really care about the people who lift me up and been blessing me to have a career in art all these years. Yeah. And I really, I do it because I love it, and I love my expression. And so, you have that backing, and the people, my core base, they're like the battery pack that gets me to these things. They really show love, and I, show love back to them.
So we hear you, we're talking to you as a producer, but you've mentioned a lot of things in regards to putting on production, right? So there's you, the producer, but then it seems like you as the production company. So can you kind of let us know like what that difference is? Because we have a lot of people that are producers, like myself included, right? But some people don't understand, like they're focusing on, I'm a producer. And we're not saying there's nothing wrong with that, right? But what's that difference between being solely a producer to actually having a production company?
It's the business aspect, whether it's music production, like knowing your splits and knowing your contracts and stuff. I have people that help me, but I had a bad manager situation, and it was the best thing God could do for me, because it was like, man, the worst thing you can do is have a bad A&R, a bad manager, or a bad publicist, somebody when you realize I'm paying you, or you're taking a percentage, or you're in my career and you're not doing anything. So you start learning these skills and wearing these hats. But with music is sometimes just really understanding the business and process and how you get paid and what's the best things to do. And sometimes, a lot of times I just answer emails. A lot of times I'm just sending stuff out to companies. I'm doing a lot of that leg work because I'm in the stages where even now I wear most of the hats in my company. Even just the story about why it took King of Dallas so long to finally, and praise God, it's funny, like we just got the official date today, September 9th. You know what I'm saying? It'll be the first official release. But we were just dealing with, like, I got blessed to have a pretty good distribution company our first go round. They did a lot of things for us, but it's a lot of incompetence going around, like on the distribution side. And so the thing is that I really, 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 if you look at your creative projects as your children, I felt that King of Dallas was at least a scholarship child. You know, like even if it's a community college, I felt it needed a scholarship, and that scholarship was, even though Tubi is a wonderful platform, I felt that we needed a subscription deal. I felt like we put enough into it to do that. So I had all of the hats, all of the creative hats, but the only thing I was missing, even though I was a cute businessman, I didn't know much about the distribution side. So you put your film or your baby in the hands of these people in hopes that they will do or can do something a little bit extra. And I had a bad experience this time with King of Dallas. They were just not treating it like the film it was. It was disrespectful, and it was really, just to be honest, I was noticing an incompetence. So being a distribution, the company is like, okay, let me work out something like, hey, give me my film back. Both of the companies were cool enough to be like, hey, let's just wash our hands with each other. But I did in a couple of weeks what I couldn't get them to do in months, you know, and it was just because I said, okay, let me learn this. If I'm going to be that company, I'm going to do, my own QC. I'm going to invest in it. I'm going to talk to the people. I'm going to do that. And I did that same thing with music. That's the only reason I'm a music producer now. I wanted to be an artist, lost producer. I'm like, well, I need to learn how to make beats. And that was in college. That's the only reason that I record now, because I'm like, okay, now I'm a producer and an artist without a studio. Let me learn how to do this.
You're not just an entrepreneur. You're a creative entrepreneur, which means that your world of business works differently, especially when it comes to funding. Okay, maybe you're bootstrapping, injecting your own money into your passion, or you're searching for investors who all too often overlook your unique vision. And yeah, you've heard a little bit about business credit, but you don't know exactly where to get started. Well, listen, we've got your back. We've partnered with Credit Savant to help creative entrepreneurs just like you get access to up to $150,000 in business credit. That's right, $150,000 to scale your creative-based business into the enterprise that you know that it can be. And trust me, they're not just going to throw information at you and send you on your way. They're going to walk hand in hand with you to help you get funded. Are you ready to take the next step? Well, head over to creditsavant.io. That's creditsavant.io. And tell them MMCB sent you.
All of the things. And then, because
really what you're basically, your answer to the question is the difference in a producer and a production company is the ability for that particular producer to go and learn and acquire other skills that then skill stacks them into having a company. And you just happen to increase your skill value so that you don't necessarily have to outsource everything. Some of it you did outsource. Yeah. It didn't go well. Obviously, you can write scripts. You have to maybe outsource. You can't hold all the cameras. Somebody else has to hold the cameras. For sure. Somebody else has to do the photography. Somebody else has to do the lighting. We know that you're saying that, but ultimately you're saying what I love, and that is there's an education piece. There's a bit of self-development that has to happen for creative entrepreneurs to move over from being a freelancer, so to speak, and then having a company. And even knowledgeable enough to know that when I'm putting my project in the hands of someone else, because this is part of the company, I have to then bring in another company to know if it's not being handled.
Yeah, right.
That takes something.
Just to know. You have to, it's an energy in your spirit when you're talented and competent in things, because you put in the work. When you know somebody, it's just not. It's like a relationship. I think you can either hope that the person will change and be insane, or you're like, hey, I've seen enough, and just have that, that discernment to say, hey, I think I can do this.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But, and that's just that's so key, right? Because a lot of times we're looking for other people to do everything else.
Yeah.
Right. And that comes in place where we need to delegate.
Yeah.
Right. But in your thing, you're like, okay, I delegated, they wasn't doing it right, so I had to take it back. But I had to learn so I know what to look for. So I think even with your next project, it's like, okay, if I do have to have somebody else do it because I can't do everything, at least I know now what to expect and what to look for because I did it myself.
Yeah.
I just didn't give it to you and let you do it, and then you come back to me and nope, I didn't accept that. So now, so now moving forward, it's like, nope, I know what to do, I know what to look for, and I can say yay or nay to this or that or to this person or that person. So no, that's huge.
Yeah, no losses, just no. The only L's are learned lessons. You know what I'm saying? So it's like now I've been through that. And now I know, you know what I'm saying? Now, so you just picked up a skill. So,
All right. So you've talked about things from an overarching point of view, and I really hope people who are music producers are ready for this next question. But I want to go back for those who are aspiring film producers or actually emerging film producers. You need to learn how to raise the budget, but then you also need to learn how to create the revenue.
yeah.
Sometimes people just say, okay, I got enough for a budget because it's just something I want to do. This is my passion. And as long as I just make enough money to do the project, that's enough. But what it really is not, right? It's really not. Like, it's actually, I can make $2 million off this film, even if I make $1 million off the film. But I raised the budget of about $50,000. And then I'm going to go to a HBO. I'm going to go to whoever and say, look what I have. Can you want to subscribe to this and put this on your platform? Your viewers will be highly entertained and educated or whatever their goals are from this. And so that's what you were saying, whether it was AVOD and TVOD or subscribe. The point is, you always know where the revenue comes from. I'm asking you about the budget, but you know where the revenue comes from. And I just feel like creatives need to understand that. Like, they know, at first they're struggling with the budget. But then it's like, even after you have the budget, it doesn't bother you to come up with 50,000 because you know on the other end, at worst, I'm probably gonna get $500,000 for the film. And it's gonna all pay off. That's cool. Now, let's flip over from the film side back to the music side. When it comes to music, how do you make money as a producer? Right? You can just give me a couple ways. How do you make money as a music producer?
You have an advance, and a lot of this stuff has changed. A lot of them is still there, but I'm just giving the ways. Like, you have a label advance to where, let's just say, if I'm working, when I did a beat for the game for Interscope, it was a $15,000 advance. I mentioned that advance because it was one of them kind of old school industry advances that really aren't prevalent anymore. And it was 3 people that produced on that, so we split that 3 ways. But it was $5,000 to me up front, and so that's that. It's an advance, and it's an advance on payment. So after they recoup that advance, then you'll start getting your mechanical royalty payments. That were a lot easy to calculate mechanical royalty payments then, because most of it was just actually physical sales. Now we got this spot. So some of it is all in shambles, but then I'm getting mechanical royalties now for the Killer Mike album pretty strongly because he sells a lot of records, you know, and that's cool. So you got those type of things. And whoever sells records, you know, you get your mechanical royalties. Second, so that's the second. Third, you have, you got your sound exchanges and your stuff like that give you your money, and you still got your streaming revenues, which, I mean, for artists like Taylor Swift are plentiful, but for a lot of artists, it just, and some people, like, you know, if they release a whole lot of songs, it's like compound interest. And, you know, I'm not saying everybody does awful with streaming, but, you know, until I just start releasing a lot of music upon a lot of music, and then my streaming dollars will be, you know, next to none. But for me, the most money I've made, and there's other ways too, the most money that I've made is from sync. Got like Welcome to America is synced so many times. And the Killer Mike Yes song has a lot of syncs too. But Welcome to America first got exposed to the world of sync. It almost got used in the film Selma. But Common and John Legend, they made that Glory song at the last minute and took our Oscar. So, Shame on y'all. But so I started knowing the world of sync, but it's been Welcome to America has been in movie trailers, commercials. It was even on Democratic National Convention. I think the latest big time movie trailer it was in was the One Night in Miami. Regina King directed film, and that Amazon broke us off for that in a major way. Sync is beautiful, whether it's commercials or anything else. And the Killer Mike Yes song, it should be in a cool documentary soon. And I think it may be picked up in the Bel Air series, season 3. We don't know yet. Looking kind of dim, but it might. So it's like, but sync money is the best money because it's one of the last forms of money that ain't funny money. And it's like just, I want to get these placements with artists and that's cool, but when you get, especially since I self-publish, like you got Sony hitting me up, NBC hitting me up, Peacock, all kind of companies, but it's always cool to see them hitting you up on behalf of your song and with these either, 5 to 6 figure, pretty much, like deals, just these deals that can go down. Sometimes they don't go down. And it's like, it used to be gut wrenching to me, but now it's just part of the game. But sync money is the best, most beautiful money that there is in music.
Now with that sync money, that business model for sync, because you've talked about a few different things, and for each thing has its own separate business model. So for that business model for sync, in your experience, was that something that you were intentional about, or did it just kind of stumble across it, but yeah, just for lack of a better word right now, did they just stumble across it, or how did you get into that sync game?
Well, I initially signed a deal with S1, if you're not familiar, but he's a real dope producer here, and they pretty much just put me on to a lot of stuff, and I learned a lot from that deal and understanding what was what, and then from that, like it was sync that pursued our songs because they were prominent songs that people really wanted to listen to, and then you get even more money with that. But then I started learning more about, like, because I think DJ Jazzy Jeff says you don't want to die empty, like, and I'm going somewhere with this in the sense that on every music producer or musician's hard drive, you have millions of dollars worth of stuff. And so it's just like, I start figuring out, like, man, this song is collecting dust. And then my niece, she started a sync company, and then there was other companies. And so instead of then I started seeking sync when I'm like, I got all of this music that I need to find a place for. So initially it came to me, but then after that, I also started saying, hey, well, here's a bundle of songs. It's 15 of them. I mean, maybe we can work a deal for $15,000, just like using stuff that instead of collecting dust, it can collect funds. So seeking sync is also a thing to do.
Right. I like what you said about seeking sync with stuff that you already have as well, because a lot of times they don't want lyrics on the songs for some of the things that are in sync. So when we say sync, we're talking about, for those who may not know, we're talking about putting the music in film and TV, and so which includes commercial and other like video on demand type of stuff that some people are just using for internal corporate videos, but they want to put the music on there. There are so many reasons and ways why they would want music, and sometimes they just want the instrumental. And a lot of producers don't realize that these instrumentals could be synced somewhere in some kind of film, and then they could be just getting paid as it's continuing to be watched. And so I like that you mentioned that. I also like the fact that sync is now one of the last money that's not funny money. And I think that's good for independent artists, because independent artists can now start tapping in with producers who they wouldn't otherwise be able to tap in with. If that artist says, hey, I have some kind of sync situation going on. If I'm coming to you and I'm letting you know, like, yeah, I'm signed to this company, or I have the sync publishing deal of some sort, there's a high chance that whatever I have is going to get produced. Or I'm coming to you and we're making something for sync, you're more likely to work with, say, independent artist who doesn't have that $15,000 advance, because we can get this funded later on through the sync situation. So I like that for independent artists and producers to be able to collaborate, even without that label fronting their money. Yeah. Okay, so I have to ask a question, because this has probably been perfect for Ron. Ron loves talking about the strategy behind all things, and so he's really probably like, yeah, I love talking about the systems and the process that goes into things. And so before we get out of here, I want to ask you a couple of questions about some of the systems and some of the processes and some of the tools that you need in what you do, right? So let's start, since we're talking about music, let's talk about music. We already know you need what's the DAW?
Logic for me. Logic, the DAW. Logic for me. Man, I love it, man. It's just creative and free flowing. I use Machine, Native Instruments, then kind of for mostly my drums and stuff like that. A lot of virtual instruments. A lot of people are using like splice loops, et cetera, and that's cool. I don't mind loops. Just the internet and stuff. I think especially a lot of young producers and stuff, for people in general, it's been major hits made off those loops. Yeah. But I love Contact because I like cinematic sounds and things that like, it's all about sound selection. So with Contact, like I don't care what loop you find, even if you're a Billboard #1, like if I get an instrument that's 300 gigabytes, it's gonna be a little bit more oomph to it, you know, and like it's cinematic and the choir sound real and stuff like that. So that's me. I love finding sounds like that. But yes, I'm pretty much streamlined with it. But the main thing, Logic, is the center for everything. Everything, you know, comes through that. So I love Logic.
Now that's from a creative standpoint, right? So these are your creative tools. But then when we talk about like your business tools, what are some of the things that, you know, as a producer, in order for you to, whether it's generate a lead or nurture a relationship with an artist or a sync company or whatever the case may be, what are some of the things, the tools or software or things like that that you use for the business side? The business side, I stay in my, let's start with email. I can draft. I think I'm the best email drafter this world has ever seen. Okay. I can read you nice. Right. I can ask for a certain thing. I can do it, whatever. I stay in my Gmail real tough. Okay. I follow, I think as far as software, it's really just following up on things. Like my email is tough. It's the follow up, and then it's really the branding strategy, like the if you build it, they will come strategy to be ready. You know, to have I need to update my site, but a good website is cool. But as far as tools, man, I will say my email and for my organizational tool. I'm a big calendar person, and I hope this is going along with tools. But it may not seem like that today because I was late. I didn't know. But I'm typically that calendar, like my iCalendar, it syncs to my phone, to the this, to the that. So it's like that really helps organization. You have to be organized in this. You have to be, and I'm like I said, I'm an all over the place person because I do so much stuff, and I miss a lot of things. But for the most part, like that iCal is big and it syncs to my phone, etc. So that's actually, I'm really going through the tools that I use. They may seem minimal, but they really help. And then it's an app on I'm a big Apple person, you can see, but I think it's Numbers. Like when I'm doing a chart or doing something like that or making an invoice, I do Numbers. I used to do something called FreshBooks, but then they stopped being free, like I guess. So then I went to Numbers.
These books say
and I get it, but Numbers work.
And Numbers is the equivalent for those who don't know to Microsoft. What is it? The spreadsheet.
Excel.
Excel. So it's equivalent to Excel for those
the Apple
who
version.
Don't do Apple. That's the Apple version. So okay, keep going.
Yeah. And Keynote, everything. I'm big. My Keynote presentations when I have to like speak or put something together for like if I'm trying to get a grant. Like I think Keynote is killing PowerPoint. Like my stuff be sliding in all nice. And this is the business side. Like I love Keynote. I love a lot of Apple products. And sometimes as much as I create, sometimes I'm sitting just creating like graphics, whether it's not the biggest on Photoshop, but I can use that a little bit. Definitely staying in like my Final Cut Pro and stuff, doing my advertisements and you know, trailers and stuff but just I think I just named the tools and I hope I'm not missing anything and I hope I'm kind of giving you the answers to your questions, but these are the actual kind of tools that in my mind right now that I know I use on a regular basis.
These are your go-tos. Okay, so do you have situations where you're tapped in to produce something for said artist, but you now have to contract other producers to help out with certain aspects of it. Do you do any of that?
Sometimes. And it's typically like more. I'm the type that I can play keys for production, but I'm not like, you wouldn't want me to play live. I'm not like a keyboard player. So sometimes you do recruit your friends, to come play some keys, just because I know exactly what I want most of the time or how I want it to sound. But it's like, for me to do it, it's going to take forever. Sometimes you want that feel. So I contract the keyboard player, or just, it's good to have musician friends, because a lot of times, the problem is if you have brand loyalty, they know that eventually something's going to stick somewhere. It's tough to always, unless you just got huge budgets. Not that people don't deserve to get paid, but you got to it's good to have a friendship, knowing that you guys are working together and everybody's going to get paid when something happens. Because it's tough to be like, hey, well, such and such, I'm gonna pay you this for the bass, but it's like about 15 tracks that haven't released yet, So it's good to have musician friends that understand your work and understand that once the track pops, it's going to do some stuff, because it's good to have that rapport and build up that catalog. But lots of times I got good, talented musician friends, and sometimes the joint goes, and even the joint, if it hasn't went, they know that like something's going to happen with it. So
that relationship building piece is huge, knowing that, and like you said, you've built that trust, that loyalty. So it's like, when I eat, we all
we gonna eat.
You know what I'm saying? We all eat. So that's big. I like that.
So I would love to know if it's pretty much the same or different for the film side of your Vintage Rhodes company, as far as how because there's a lot more people involved, right? You got the actors, there's this and that. How do you use something to? I hope y'all not just having no text message, big thing with all the actors. Like,
it's something called, and man, with King of Dallas, it's gonna be totally different. King of Dallas may be the hardest film that I ever will produce due to this. It'll be films that are bigger with bigger budget. It'll be films that are bigger than it, but we'll have a bigger budget. We'll have more people in place. I don't think it will ever be as tough to do that, to like have an independent film where things have to be, the continuity got to be right because it's post-apocalyptic, etc. But it was at least about 170 people that touched King of Dallas in some way. So like the actors, a lot of the core actors got paid, but a lot of the extras, did it just because they wanted their credits. A lot of people really, believe in me, and they was like, hey, we know that the money is coming, But a lot of the cast on this particular one, because we raised the budget, but I'm telling you, just learning more. That's why we need sponsors. Tens of thousands of dollars minimum went on feeding people every day. And then because you have that big cast. So we did the best we could. $50,000 for the film that we shot is not really a lot of money. And luckily, like we really have, we were blessed to have it, but that we barely made it with that. And luckily we had the skills to do the actual work, because that would have been hundreds of thousands. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like you pay. Yeah, it's like favors, paying, just figuring it out. It's the same thing, to answer your question quickly.
So earlier you talked about being able to have a placement with the game. You talked about having a placement on Killer Mike's record. You talked about having a placement on the Praise record. And I'm sure there's quite a few other that I'm not listening. I know there are others, right? How do you get those type of clients, and then how do you retain them so that next time they get ready to do an album, at least they know? Man, the game is really funny. A lot of retention, especially like I'm blessed and I'm like I'm an OG in the game doing my thing, and even my level, there's not a lot of people that reach, but then it's really levels, and a lot of times retention is not even based off doing the things that you're supposed to do. Like even with Lecrae, to be honest, like I think I started one of his biggest grossing records. And I don't really have an end to Lecrae like that. I got that, that connection from S1. And it's more like you would hope that, hey, we got this Welcome to America record. It's hidden still to this day, but it's not, it's not really even like that. Like a lot of times, like if you're alchemist to certain people, it's a certain level where you can do that. So it's like I think me, and Talib,
he understood, he really dug my sound, and he would come back to the well a little bit with Royce. Even though we didn't get other records, I went down to work with Royce again. Definitely right now, Royce the Five Nine, sorry.
So you may not have that inroad with the artist, but maybe following up with that A&R.
Yeah, the best you can do is really follow up. That's all I can say is just follow up. But don't get disheartened. Even if, cause it's not even about your talent. A lot of times it's about your relationship, and you can't force a relationship. You can just make a hit, be a part of it, and just hope that the person recognizes that, hey, I got more. And it's not always like that, but it's not, a lot of times you just got to do your due diligence, and it's not your fault if you don't work with it again. Because the blessing with me is like, a lot of times I don't even with top artists, I haven't had the blessing of getting in, locking in the studio and doing more, but my sound is so strong that another one gonna come, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so, but it is, just do your best. And a lot of times, as long as you did your best, the retention isn't up to you. With so many factors in the industry that kind of keep, a lot of times political things and other things that'll keep you from that. But as long as you do your follow-ups and keep making your heat, you know what I'm saying? That's all you can do.
All right.
He said a lot of times it's not about your talent, but it's about the relationship. And I think that gets missed a lot of times, because us as creatives, a lot of times, a lot of us creatives are introverted, right? So we may not be the best at building relationships or even maintaining and retaining relationships. But when we talk about creative entrepreneurship, having the skill set of developing relationships and maintaining relationships is key. Networking, that's key, because like you said, those create opportunities or those keep opportunities coming based off the relationship. So I don't want y'all to miss that. And listen, it's a lot more that I want to ask. I know Shy want to ask, but I know we gotta wrap up, because you have other things you got to do, and we don't want to hold you. We appreciate it.
He probably got a film. He got to go talk to HBO, Netflix, and then got to go follow up with whoever.
Exactly. But I want to ask you, as we wrap up, what's one thing that you would want to leave to the audience? So these are like aspiring entrepreneurs, or they doing it, creative entrepreneurs, they're doing it, and they like, okay, how do I want to get past that threshold? I want to get that 6, 7, 8 figures. What's one thing that you say, okay, if you focus on this, you well on your way?
I think enjoy where you are now. I think you always looking forward, but like if you're moving forward right now, you're living in a dream that you dreamt in the past, you know what I mean? And so you gotta be happy with that, because like right now, like the 10 year ago me would be like, oh bro, you doing it, you know what I'm saying? But right now I'm like, man, I got more to do. So don't always chase this, you'll go crazy. Like chase it and get it, but just be happy with where you are, because you got to have your mind and your heart right to do it at the level that you want to do it. And secondly, man, you learn as much as you can. If you feel uncomfortable about a situation, educate yourself on it, because that'll open up the floodgates for your talent.
Wow. Education. This is interesting to end on, that you were saying to enjoy where you are, and you talked about education. The thing about Minding My Creative Business podcast is it exists to help creative entrepreneurs develop strategies, develop structure, and then self-development. At the core of it, it's really an education tool for creative entrepreneurs. And one thing that I want to just shout you out, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about, but you've made it your business to educate along the way, right? So These Beats Ain't Free is a book to educate other producers on how to know their worth and make their passion a paycheck. You said there's a second book coming, and then also you take some time to be a professor and to actually teach on the post-secondary level. I know you taught at an audio-visual school before, and now you're teaching at Berkeley, right? And so I just want to shout you out for making sure that you're not just getting it for yourself. I got my 6, I got my 7, I paid my team, I got my film. I'm about to go talk to whoever. You're making sure you're passing this information along, because I would love to see a world where creative entrepreneurs are given the respect that they really need out here. And they can only do that with education. So shout out to J. Rhodes, y'all.
Hey.
Yeah.
So on that note, we want to encourage you to join the Creatives Corner. right? So if you go to mmcbpodcast.com, you can be a part of our community and receive a newsletter on a regular basis to help you develop and grow and be a part of a community with other creatives, right, that are going in the same direction that you are going, okay? We also want to, what else? I'm drawing a blank.
I mean, just thanking them. We thank Rhodes, but we want to thank you for being a part of the education piece. And usually we end the episode. I usually end it. That's why I use drawing the blank. And I usually end it by asking them to do a mantra. But for the sake of time, I just want you to say this: all it takes is laser focus.
Laser focus.
To mind my creative business.
To mind my creative business.
Ooh,
hey.
Bars.